Oh, have you ever been told that you inherited your mother's smile or your dad's eyes? With CSS, our elements can inherit some of their styles from their container or parent element. For example, the HTML for our header looks like this, with the class attribute on the header element, not the H1 or H2, and the style sheet looks like this, setting the header element to a color of white. And the result is this. Even though we are not specifically setting the color of the H1 or H2 elements, they inherit the styles from their container element, which is sometimes called a parent element. Not all CSS properties inherit their parent's value. Properties that are inherited include color and font family. When we set one of these style properties, the element and every element inside it are styled with the property values. Properties that are not inherited include margin, padding, border, and width. And these make sense. If a parent container has a margin, for example, you don't necessarily want every element within that container to also have that margin. The MDN documentation identifies which properties are inherited and which aren't. See lesson links below this video for more information. Now let's take a look at the effect of inheritance. We won't add anything new, but let's examine how our current elements are inheriting their styles. VS Code is still here on the left, with the resume folder open and Live Server running. The browser is displayed on the right with the developer tools open. Let's maximize the browser. In the developer tools, navigate down from the header to the H1 element. In the right pane, we see the styles. At the bottom, we see that the H1 element inherits some of its styles from the page-header class on its parent container. Next, navigate down from the main element to the first paragraph element and click on the span element. In the right pane, we see that the font style property came from our ID selector, the color and font weight from the highlight class selector, and here it shows that the font size of our span is inherited from the main piece styles set on the paragraph element. The developer tools are really useful in determining where an element style is coming from, and if it's inherited from another element. Let's go back to the slides. So, some style properties are inherited from their parent container. Leverage the developer tools to view an element's cascade and inheritance. Here we see that the font size is inherited. The margin is dimmed because the margin is not an inherited property. Before we move on, let's take a final look at our resume page. Close the developer tools to see more of the page. We have a good start here, but there is more to do. We need to add a section for our experience. We can leverage the style of our other sections for a consistent look. We should spend a bit more time making our styles consistent in fonts, font sizes, and spacing. Plus, we haven't spent any time making our page responsive. As we make the browser width smaller, like someone would have on their phone, the columns get very narrow, with some overriding each other. Feel free to make further changes as you wish. Then close the browser, click to close Live Server, and close VS Code. Now let's finish up this course with some final words and next steps. If this course has been useful, please like and subscribe.